Yay! Now it's summer, and so you might be looking for wholesome, convenient meals for those sunny, active days. Factor, America's #1 ready-to-eat meal kit, can help you fuel up fast with flavorful and nutritious ready-to-eat meals that are going to be delivered straight to your door. You'll save time, eat well, and stay on track reaching your goals. So head on over to factormeals.com/WILLTalk50 and use code WILLTalk50 to get 50% off your first box. That's code WILLTalk50 at factormeals.com/WILLTalk50. That gets you 50% off your first box. Yum, enjoy. Hello and welcome everyone to the Women in Leadership Talk podcast. We are super excited to be here again today. We always have great conversations lined up for you. And today we have a very special guest. We have Theresa Lear Levine. She's not related to Adam. I know, I just asked. I was very sad about that. Anyway, we have Theresa here with us today. Theresa, welcome. So glad you're here.
Thank you so much for having me, Vicki. I'm really excited to have our conversation today.
Yeah, me too. Me too. And I know it took us a little while to coordinate our timing, but boy, am I ever grateful that we've made it happen today. So thank you for being here. Awesome. So let me give our audience just a little bit of feedback about Theresa, just to kickstart our conversation today and give you context as to her background. So Theresa is the founder of Becoming More Me. I love that. I think that's so important. She is a successful mompreneur who has overcome her struggles with trauma, ADHD, and high functioning anxiety using energy psychology, emotional freedom techniques, which is called EFT for short, and chakra strategies. She's been helping female entrepreneurs and moms work on their mental, emotional, physical, and spiritual health for over 25 years. And her methods have empowered her clients to release anxiety, distractions, trauma, and limiting patterns. And Theresa, I'm going to guess you are super busy right now.
I am. It's been such a lovely time in my life, and there's just been this abundance of everything I have worked for, prayed for, wished for, and wanted in my life, all coming at the exact same time. And it's a beautiful time to be doing what I'm doing.
Awesome. Awesome. I love it. I love it. And I just want to mention also, Theresa has a wonderful podcast called Becoming More Me podcast. And so she shares a wealth of knowledge on her podcast as well. So, please make sure you write that down, Becoming More Me, so that you can tap into some other information after today's conversation. So let's jump in, Theresa, and talk about you, because today is all about you. Who is Theresa Lear Levine? Who are you?
Well, I am a child of the universe, but I'm a mom of 4. I am a wife. I am a lover of all things that have to do with energy, and energy is literally everything. So I'm a very curious mind. I am an ADHD entrepreneur. I have just a curiosity and a love for most things. I can't get enough information, education, learning. I love all of that. And I really have a passion for helping professional women to get out of their own way, because I spent so much time in my own way. And that is what really lights me up and fuels my days, as well as being around for these 4 beautiful boys that I'm raising and being able to participate in their life and spend lots of awesome time with my husband as well.
Oh, that's beautiful. Love it. Love it. Well, you have had quite the background and have experienced, a lot of energy yourself, right? And so I'd love for us if we can just, talk a little bit about what your own experiences have been with anxiety, ADHD, and how that has actually led you to the path you're on today.
Sure. So I wasn't actually diagnosed with ADHD until I was in my early 40s. That's only been a few years.
Mm-hmm.
But there was never any doubt in my mind that I had it. But I've always embraced it as a superpower.
Nice.
So it's always just fueled my curiosity and my interest. And, so what if I, get distracted and it takes me a few extra times to finish something than somebody else? I've started 3 other things in the meantime, and they're wonderful also. So I love it. And I I have had my share of anxiety as a mom of 4 boys. That just has its own level of anxiety to it.
Kidding.
But, I don't think I grew up feeling anxious. I think, different things that I encountered as I, went into college and started in the workforce simultaneously and started to become a professional woman on my own. And then I went through some car accidents and a lot of trauma from that because I couldn't work. I had a lot of injuries and things to recover from. And it was a different time because I'd felt so empowered and so full of possibility. And then it kind of felt like things caved in on me.
Mm,
And a lot of that possibility, like the rug was kind of ripped out from under me. And I did notice anxiety creeping in then.
sure, of
And
course.
in a way that I'd never experienced it before. And I also had some other, traumas in my teens. And then I married early. Not really. I mean, I was like 23 when I got married, but I ended up, that marriage ended in divorce. My first son came from that marriage. And that also kind of added to the anxiety and the uncertainty and the overwhelm and everything else. And the kind of wondering, by the time that we were dissolving that marriage and I was moving on, I'm in my late 20s. And, we can all get these feelings of like, oh, I'm supposed to be further along than I am right now in life, or why haven't I achieved this, or why isn't this happening? And we can get a little bit disembodied and in our head and everything else. And, I was blessed that I met my husband Jeff, shortly after that time. And, we went on to get married and have 3 more boys together. And that's been wonderful. And also, I didn't feel like I had anything that was really my own after a while. I'm enjoying my marriage, I'm enjoying raising my kids, but I'm really missing what I started all those years ago that I didn't really get to finish, my own professional development, my own entrepreneurial desires. And I slowly kind of branched back into things through things that I could do at home, like network marketing and things like that, where it was like, okay, cool, I can raise my kids, I can be here for them, I can have my own schedule, and I can also have something that's my own that maybe will develop into a business. And I actually got quite successful at that. And then I wanted more than that. So that is about the time, it was shortly before the pandemic, and I was going on a retreat with a bunch of other women that were also in like the health and fitness industry, which is kind of where I was with mindset and coaching at that point. And they had someone there who was just a level 1 EFT practitioner. She was amazing, awesome, so much fun to talk to. And I believe this was right at the beginning of COVID. It was before we were really talking about it here in the States, but it was like, we know this thing's coming kind of thing. But it was already here. And I'm pretty sure I had it.
Me too.
But I just didn't know what to call it at that point. I was on my way to this retreat. I was on my way to this retreat and I got sick as a dog. But I was like, whatever. I hadn't been sick in like 7 years. My immune system was amazing. I was always super healthy. And I'm like, whatever, I'll just stop and get some like cold and flu medicine from the drugstore. I'm going to this thing. I mean, my 4 boys are at home and I'm like, I'm having a weekend away with amazing women and fun things to do. There's no way that whatever this is
not
holding me back
back
from this. So I got my medicine, I go to the retreat, and but I just wanted to crawl into a ball and like not do any of the stuff. And like, luckily where we were staying, there was like a sauna. I just got into the sauna. I had like my eucalyptus oil. I was just like trying anything to like clear my head, feel better, raise my energy. Nothing was working. But I went to this tapping seminar that they were doing. And during that time, we were tapping on anxiety. It was like, cool, I could definitely use some help there. And I was also feeling awful. Well, by the end of this hour of just tapping generally, because we were tapping as a group, and we'll get into EFT tapping here, but EFT tapping likes specificity. And this was general because it was group work. But I was feeling less anxious. And also my head was clearing and my energy was lifting. We had a photo shoot after this that we were going to do to like capture the weekend. And I was really feeling dreadful about it. I was like, I really don't want anybody to take my picture right now. I just want to go back to bed. I had a great photo shoot. The pictures, you'd never even know I was sick. And I was like, there's really something to this modality. And I definitely need to learn more of it. I went home that weekend and I was kind of recapping the weekend for my husband on the couch, catching up. And all I could do was talk about emotional freedom techniques and how I needed to learn this. And by the end of the conversation, he's handing over the bank card. He's like, just go sign up. Just go become a practitioner. Like, I know you're going to do it anyway. So like, you have my blessing, go learn and do the things. And I did. The next day I signed up for like master level certification. I went through it in like a record time and I was helping people to do the same thing less than 6 months later.
Wow.
And yeah, I was fired up by that. And then, everything else unfolded from there. the hypnotherapy interests and all the other things. And I was finding myself leveling up in all these ways that I never had been able to before. All the things that I used to learn, but not be able to implement. I can understand them, but understanding of the brain is one thing. When you understand something at a nervous system level, or when you're in a state of hypnosis, it's powerful, transformative understanding that actually changes and transforms you. So
Wow.
yeah, that was kind of how it all started.
That's amazing. So let's get into that, right? Because I know now our audience is saying, okay, tell me more, tell me more. So two things I heard there is really understanding what the EFT is. And then, you've talked about the hypnosis aspect of it. So
Yeah.
let's just jump in. Tell me more. And it's funny because hypnosis is coming up a lot I was at an event last night with, 120 women, and it came up multiple times in conversation with, what have you thought about hypnosis? So let's just jump in and maybe talk a little bit more about what's the process of EFT and how does that benefit someone?
Yeah. So EFT again is emotional freedom techniques. And a lot of people know it more commonly as tapping. So when you hear tapping or EFT, it's the exact same thing. And it is an amazing tool for regulating our nervous system and for removing energetic blockages in our system. So basically, at the heart of any dis-ease, and I don't just want to say disease because then people automatically are thinking of big bad things, but anything that doesn't feel right is an energetic blockage. So when we can move and remove energetic blockages in our body, we can resolve anything that we're feeling that doesn't feel good, whether that is physical, whether that is emotional, whether it happened 50 years ago, whether it's happening next week, whether it's happening right now. It does not matter. So that basically opens up everything as a thing that you can treat. And this is a scientifically proven method. This isn't just like some woo-woo thing that it's like, maybe it'll work. It's scientifically proven to work on any of those things. And it's even been shown in more recent studies to be able to change the way our DNA expresses itself. So like this is some seriously powerful stuff. And it's also super simple. So, sometimes we can really complicate our transformation or our healing or our letting go of things.
A little bit of surrender.
Yeah, it doesn't have to be so difficult. So with emotional freedom techniques, we combine ancient Chinese wisdom with modern psychology. And the ancient Chinese wisdom part is the actual tapping on what we call meridian endpoints in our body. So our meridian system it runs throughout our entire body. And if you were to go have a massage or go get acupuncture done, they would be tapping into those meridian points and those areas of your body to release typically physical pain, but plenty of people use acupuncture for emotional things these days also. And it's very effective. And then the modern psychology aspect is that, and I love this, you get to focus on what's bothering you and you get to focus on what's negative. Who gives you permission to do that anymore? We're all like, just feel better, go get positive, do an affirmation, whatever. It does not work. It does not actually eliminate the root cause of the problem. Like we need permission to just like swamp in whatever it is that is bothering us and allow it to move. Our energy wants to be released. When negative emotions, they want to move up and out. They want a voice. They want to be acknowledged. And once they have been sufficiently, they go. And that's the only way that you can get from a feeling of disempowerment to a feeling of enlightenment and joy. And in the middle of those very different emotions are things like anger, and other things that require expression. Yes. So this is a way to actually get to the point of genuinely feeling love, acceptance, and forgiveness for whatever it is that you're working on. And when you genuinely feel that, the issue, the pain, the obstacle dissolves.
Nice. Wow. That's pretty amazing. So and that takes me down a number of different paths that we could explore here. And
yeah, because there's so many things you can use this for, especially like I'm thinking about like women in leadership and the way, your audience, because this is so amazing for not just tangible things like I mean, I love using it on tangible things because most people are a little bit apprehensive or in disbelief that this could work, pessimistic. And so using it on something like a headache or a backache or something is immediate proof that, I am empowered and powerful, and I can actually change this for myself in a matter of minutes.
Right.
And then you can just as effectively, but not as tangibly, use this on things like money blocks or visibility blocks or developing your intuition to make better business decisions, procrastination, focus and energy, anxiety and stress, just gaining clarity around things that you're uncertain about, feeling stuck, grief, loss, imposter syndrome, trauma, all of those things are great ways to use this technique very effectively. It's just that unlike a headache, if you're working on something like a money block, you might not realize that you've released it until you're then posed with like maybe your next decision around money or, whatever else. And then you'll realize very quickly that you're showing up differently, that you're feeling differently, that a lot has changed.
Nice, nice. So those are some great examples of how you might use it. So how does it help with, I know this was one of the things that we had discussed earlier. How does it help with healing those traumas or PTSD as an example?
Yeah.
I know that's an area that you spend time in.
Absolutely. So when you're tapping and you're going through the process, we call it a round of tapping. And you and I are actually going to do a round of tapping after we record that your audience is going to be able to get the recording of and try along with us, which I highly recommend. And a round of tapping can take anywhere from a couple of minutes to 10 or 20 minutes. It just really depends on how elaborate you want to get with it. But when you're doing that, you're sending a signal directly to your amygdala. So whereas coaching, talk therapy, that kind of stuff is more frontal lobe, you're going right to the center of our fight, flight, freeze, flee, fawn, all of that, and calming that immensely. And you're also reducing your stress hormones very quickly too. So things like cortisol, you can reduce cortisol up to 43% in just 10 minutes of EFT.
Oh my goodness. Wow.
Yes.
And women in particular, like we live with so much cortisol, trying to be everything for everybody. And that's amazing. Okay. Awesome.
Yeah. So you're going right to that stress center of the brain, and you're releasing that. And so the anxiety is going down, the stress, the need to feel alert, all of that. And we're bypassing the pathways that are typically accessed with traditional talk therapy and just going straight to where we need to make the actual change. And then, and you combine that with something like, I use EFT and hypnotherapy separately, not together. You really get to resolve a lot of that subconscious stuff, because like I said, it's one thing to know something on a thinking level, but the brain is not necessarily to be trusted. It's it wants to protect us. It thinks it has our best interests at heart, but at the end of the day, it's just going to keep us safe. And most of the things that we want to branch into and do are unfamiliar territory. And it will find ways to steer us away from those things over and over and over again. But when we can get into that subconscious level and also resolve things at a nervous system level, it's a whole different ballgame.
Too busy with summer plans to cook, but you want to make sure that you're eating well? With Factor, skip the trip to the grocery store and skip the chopping, prepping, and cleaning up too, while still getting the flavor and nutritional quality you need. Factor's fresh, never frozen meals are ready in just 2 minutes. So all you have to do is just heat and enjoy. And then you get to go back outside and soak up that warm weather. Factor has a variety of options for you. You have calorie conscious options with 550 calories per serving. You've got protein plus meals with 30 grams plus more protein. They also have flavor packed options for keto, calorie smart, vegan, and vegetarian. And all of these are chef prepared and dietitian approved with over 34 plus choices that you can make. They also have 45 additional add-ons, which include breakfast items such as apple cinnamon pancakes or bacon and egg breakfast skillet. All of these are incredibly easy to make and offer you the protein that you're looking for in these additional meals. If you want the budget this month by cutting back on takeout, get Factor instead. Not only is Factor cheaper than takeout, but meals are ready and faster than restaurant delivery. Now think about that. It only takes 2 minutes to get these meals prepared. They also offer sustainable choices, which I personally love. They offset 100% of their delivery emissions to your door and 100% renewable electricity for all of their production sites and offices. So this June, get Factor and enjoy eating without the hassle. Simply choose the meals that you want and enjoy fresh, flavor-packed meals delivered to your door, ready in just 2 minutes. No prep, no mess. So head on over to factormeals.com/WILTalk50 and use code WILTalk50, and that will get you 50% off your first box. That's code WILTalk50 at factormeals.com/WILTalk50. And again, that gets you 50% off that first box. Enjoy. Yeah, I love that. I love that. And you're so right. Like the brain is so powerful in keeping us playing small, right?
Yeah,
And
it doesn't care about your goals.
exactly. It's like, no, Vicky, no, you don't want to do that, right? Instead of cheering you on. And so that's a whole nother mental game to play. So let's talk a little bit about the hypnosis, right? So you've talked about EFT. And so how would you use hypnosis with your clients?
Basically in all of the same ways. It's just
Okay.
that, hypnosis is a sleep of the nervous system.
Mhm.
So I love using EFT to empower my clients because then they know that they're making the change. And even though the type of hypnotherapy I do is very involved, I'm walking my clients through things in hypnosis and they're solving their own problems from a subconscious state of awareness. I think that when they are doing EFT tapping, they feel a lot more empowered and they know that, at any moment they have the tools now to make themselves feel better, whether it's sometimes EFT is kind of like applying a Band-Aid. Maybe if you have a fear of public speaking and you're using EFT right before you walk on stage or, speak, in the boardroom or whatever the case might be, that's kind of like a Band-Aid. You're going to feel better. You're going to do amazing. It's going to make such a difference for you. And yet you're still going to have the root cause of whatever that is that you have the fear of public speaking about. And then later, maybe with hypnosis, we can root that out and we can really get to the bottom of it so that you don't even need to use the EFT as a Band-Aid at another time. So they work well together. But like I said, with my hypnotherapy, there's a lot of client work happening in that. But I think that there's a general misconception that if you're being hypnotized, that someone else is kind of working this magic on you or something. Whereas it's really just you relating to yourself in a new way and receiving that new information and that understanding of what may have happened in the past that's not happening now at a totally different level so that you actually process it.
Okay. That's very interesting. You say that. I'm just thinking about some of the conversations that were happening last night. And so it's helping you to subconsciously reframe how you see something. Did I catch that right? Okay.
Both tools are amazing for that.
Okay.
I just feel like because a client can do EFT on their own and because
yes,
their voice, their hands, their body, not that it's not with hypnosis, I just think that they feel more in control of their transformation with that. And that's why I love using both techniques.
Well, and from the EFT perspective, like even the example you just shared with going on stage, right? That's like one of the top fears that most people have of having to get up and publicly speak, right? So that's a great example of how to settle the nervous system so that you can go out and be your best self. Love that. I'm still curious about the hypnosis aspect. So what, if any, impact does that have spiritually? And I know that sounds like a weird question, but I'm curious, like when you put somebody through hypnosis, is there a bigger impact from, even connecting with your higher self, I guess is what I'm asking.
I'm not sure I completely understand your question, but let's go there. If someone wanted to connect more with their higher self, that could completely be the basis of that hypnosis session.
Okay.
And we could tap into that. I think that elevated consciousness helps us connect on any level. And EFT for me was the very first time when I started doing that I really felt like I was present in my life. And
Yeah.
that to me is elevated consciousness, and really being able to kind of like I could kind of lift up and out of myself and see what was going on, make sense of it, and do things differently.
Okay. Nice.
And every time that I would tap, especially in the beginning, I would just feel more layers kind of peeling off and more consciousness evolving. And I think that hypnosis also has a very similar way of getting you more conscious about what's going on, the decisions that you're making, more tuned into your desire to change a habit or to do something differently or to feel differently about something that's not even happening to you anymore in your life, but that you're still carrying around feelings from the past about.
Mm-hmm.
And if that elevated consciousness is something that gets you feeling closer to your source energy or the higher power or God or whatever it is that you like to call it, then that's absolutely wonderful. That might not be anyone or everyone's goal. It definitely feels that way for me. But I try to stick to the things that are a little bit more scientifically related, because that's what people like to hear, the things that are like the proof. And these are definitely both scientifically proven methods that work. And you could totally do a session. Like if you were somebody that's feeling a little disconnected from your source power or disconnected from a higher power, you could use hypnosis or EFT to reconnect to that.
Okay. Yeah, that answers that beautifully. Cause, that just kept coming up last night in conversation. And I was like, I have no idea. I am not the expert on that. Can't talk about it.
What were you doing last night that it was coming up?
Oh, I was with a group of women at a club I belong to in Toronto. And, we had our annual members dinner. And so it's always fascinating conversations that take place, and hypnosis kept coming up. It's like it's a common theme right now. I where I'm hearing it a lot more, or maybe I'm just tuning into it more. Do you know what I mean? So it's like, oh, it's there again. Oh, here it is again. So I'm being present and listening. And then funny enough, we're talking about it today, right? Well, it's not a coincidence, but
yeah, absolutely. I was saying it's a little bit more than a nudge there.
yeah, just a wee bit. I love it. So lots of benefits to help people really connect with themselves, whether it's EFT or hypnosis. So what about things like how toxic positivity shows up? I know that was one thing we had talked about a little bit earlier, and how somebody could release some of those negative emotions that can come up with, the toxic positivity.
Yeah, I think, it kind of goes back to what I was saying before, that you actually get to give the negative things a voice with either of these techniques, and allow that energy to move. Because if I'm trying to think of an example of something that might not be feeling good. If you've had some kind of an incident in your life where maybe going back to that public speaking example, you've had something happen in your life that made you fearful of public speaking or made you feel shame or whatever, allowing that incident, that thing that happened, to be voiced and to say how much pain was caused to you, or what those feelings were exactly, or that there was shame, and to allow that to be released allows you to show up in a totally different way and to really feel unashamed and free to be you, safe to be you. And that can transform everything that underlies that fear of public speaking, for example. And then as that's released, you get to welcome in the actual positive feelings. And it's as if you just took a garden and took all the weeds out of it. And now you can actually plant the beautiful flowers and bushes and shrubs and things that you want there, and they can grow uninhibited by those weeds that would otherwise overtake them again and again and again. And that allows the positive things to actually feel real, instead of, we've all had these times when we've tried like affirmations or whatever, and they have felt like complete BS. And it doesn't even land. And you're just like, why am I even saying this affirmation? Like, I'm a multi-billionaire or whatever it is. And you're like, no, I'm not. Like, I'm struggling with this, or this isn't working out. And we feel like imposters instead of empowered. And when you actually release the negative and you have that place to genuinely plant the positive, you feel the things that you're saying. And you're not saying things that are like ridiculously out of line with your reality, because that can cause goal trauma, to be perfectly honest. And that's a whole other thing to work out, and something that I love working on with my clients. But you open up to the idea that public speaking could be easy for you.
Yeah.
I'm open to the idea that this actually could be quite delightful, quite easy.
Mhm,
I'm open to the
mhm.
idea that I can show up and I'm going to remember every single thing that I need to remember. I'm open to the idea that these people are going to love me, and they're not here to judge me. And if I can just release this judgment for myself just a little bit for today, I might be surprised.
Yeah. So I just want to tap into something you said there, because I happen to be a big fan of affirmations.
Oh, they're
But
great.
no, but what I love what you shared there is, and I think that's such a misunderstanding, is people will pick like stuff that's totally like kind of off the charts.
Total
And you,
stretch.
yes, exactly. And you just did a beautiful example of how personally, like I would use an affirmation is, I'm open to receiving, or I'm open to being on stage, and as an example, and the audience, it being exactly what they need to hear today, right? Because that is that reinforcement of, how you can step more into your power. And so I love the examples that you were sharing. So it's making it real, right? And really
Yeah.
tapping into what the possibilities are.
Yeah, we just keep taking one step closer to exactly where we're going. And I tie in a lot of my work with law of attraction and with
Yes.
chakra work that allows the energy portals to be honored, because our chakra system has everything to do with how we manifest anything into our physical life, or how we mess it up.
Yes.
And by clearing that, and by using the law of attraction also, we can magnetize more of what we want into our life in a very real way.
Yes, agree. You're speaking my language. I love it, Teresa. But you know what I'd love for you to do, if you will, just take 2 minutes, because I know we have to wrap up here in a minute. Not everybody knows what the chakras are. So maybe just talk a second about, what they are, and how you can, once you get your chakras in alignment, how that can open you up to manifest and to achieve the things that you want to achieve.
Yeah. So let's use an example here also. Let's say that you're trying to call more income into your
Mm.
life, trying to level up, or maybe you've hit a money ceiling, or whatever the case may be in your work or your business. And so with the chakras, we have, the seventh chakra up here, and the first chakra is down like, kind of where our legs meet together, very like low in the main part of our body. And in between there are all the other chakras. And I like to think of it as we have an idea. So, up here in seventh chakra land, everything is like airy fairy, sky's the limit, anything is possible. We can have all of these great ideas. And then as they start to drop down, seventh chakra to six and so on, that is when the idea becomes something that I'm talking to. So now I'm saying, oh, hey, Vicky, like I really would love to like add another like couple $100,000 onto my income this year, and having all these ideas about it. And they're coming in. And I think the first thing I might do is, reach out to this corporate sponsor, or whatever the thing might be. And I've given it a voice now. And so now the thinking is it's starting to become a physical thing, because I've talked to you about it. And
Mm.
then it keeps dropping lower and lower. Sometimes people get hung up in their throat. That's often where we either feel empowered to talk more about it, or we feel like we don't have a voice.
Yeah.
So that's something. And as we move this thing down our chakra system, depending on whether things are open and spinning freely as they should be with our energy, or whether there's blockages, is going to depend on kind of what the next step appears like. Whether we have that voice to express it or not, whether when it gets to our heart, everyone has heard the phrase, her heart just wasn't in it.
Yeah.
And that has a lot to do with the energy there, and the self-love energy, and the ability to be a cheerleader for yourself also, not just your ability to love others. It has a lot to do with your ability to love and act for yourself.
Mhm.
And then we get into the lower chakras, which are the ones where, like, when I'm working with my clients, lower chakra work is like where we start, because to me, that's like a container. Nothing becomes physical until it hits that first chakra. That is our physical world. That is our body. That is the things that are tangible, touchable. That's the money in our hand, from that we're manifesting with that seventh chakra idea. And so if that container is full of holes because you were raised with awful beliefs around money or unworthiness or whatever else that is basically saying that you either can't have this, you don't deserve this, or maybe it's saying you have to work 24/7 if you want that. It has to be really hard for you, because nobody gets to have an extra couple $100,000 without it being really difficult and without working their fingers to the bone. And all of those beliefs and things are putting these holes in your manifesting container down there in those lower chakras. And it's like a spaghetti colander, and everything is just kind of like whooshing out of it instead of being held by it. So a lot of the work for the lower chakras is firming that up, getting that foundational stuff right, so that when you have that idea and when you get it down at least that far, you can hold it and you can actually bring in that extra couple $100,000 and do whatever it is that would be for your highest good and the highest good of all others with that money, instead of losing it or making bad decisions with it, or not actually, I don't know, working really hard and not enjoying your life and still earning it.
Yeah. Yeah. Wow. That was a great example. Thank you. And I love how you tied in, just how it flows through the body. And oftentimes you can physically feel where that block is, right?
Mm-hmm.
And it's important for us to be present enough to tune in to where that might be coming from. So whether it's the heart, it's the voice. I was at a breath work session a couple of weeks ago, and one of the women was like, "Oh, I'm having such a hard time telling what I want to tell." And we're all looking at each other going, "Okay, her chakra is blocked." How do we help her open that voice, right? But it's so powerful when we tune into that. And so that was a great example. So I am cognizant of our time. Theresa, thank you. This has been amazing. Anything you want to leave our audience with? I know we're going to do the example that you can send out so that people can, really see that in action. Is there anything else that you would like to share with the audience before we close up today?
Well, it just that there's always another level to go to with the way that you're feeling. And that if you are somebody who is in the rat race of life or whatever, and you're feeling just chaos and overwhelm and cortisol spikes and confusion, that on the other side of that, there's literally very effective, scientifically proven, easy ways to gain the calm, the clarity, and the confidence that you desire. It is not out of reach. It is totally available to you and for you. And yeah, these are just a couple ideas of how to get started on that. And definitely grab the session that Vicki and I are getting ready to do. You can go to theprivatesessions.com and receive that. And I think you'll get a lot of benefit out of it. There's not only the session that Vicki and I are going to do, but there's dozens of other sessions that I've done with other podcast hosts that will be sent to you. So you can pick a topic that resonates with you, press play on it, and you'll not only get to feel what it's like to have an energetic shift, you're also going to get tons of just pro tips and tricks for how to work with your own energy in every single one of those sessions.
Nice, nice, lovely. So you heard that, audience. Say the website one more time, Theresa, just to make sure they have it.
Theprivatesessions.com.
Okay, so you've got it, theprivatesessions.com. Theresa, thank you. This has been incredible. I love your energy. It's so beautiful, and it's just a great way to start our day. And so thank you for that. And I want to thank our audience. Yeah, it's been a pleasure to have you here, and we'll have to do this again for sure, because I'm sure we hit on a few topics we weren't planning to talk about. So
hey, that's okay. I'm no foreigner to the part two. Sometimes it's necessary.
Exactly. And I want to thank our audience. I know you have a choice as to what podcast you listen to. Super grateful that you tune in to Women in Leadership Talk. We bring amazing guests on for you to just expand the possibilities for you and expand your thinking as to what is available and accessible. And if you have curiosity around what your own leadership style might be, go on to Will Empowered, that's 1L, willempowered.com, and take our free leadership quiz. That'll give you some insight as to how you're showing up as a leader. So thank you, everyone. Really grateful to have you here today, and we look forward to seeing you on our next Will Talk podcast. Take care.